Alright, with January being over and February beginning, I figured I'd give a Blu-ray DVD collection update of all the stuff I picked up in January. I ended up grabbing a little more than I would normally because of some good deals, so let's just jump into starting with the DVDs. I picked up In This Corner of the World on DVD, and it's been a film that's been on my radar for a little while now. The animation looks absolutely stunning, and being based around life and during World War II, it's definitely a time period that I'm very interested in. This movie also has some pretty high scores, so I'm pretty excited to check this one out. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm definitely going to plan on sitting down and watching it here soon. I ended up grabbing this on DVD because I found it at the Dollar Tree for $1, so I ended up grabbing it. It's definitely a movie that if I really like it, I would definitely upgrade to Blu-ray, but I figured for $1 I'd just grab the DVD so I could finally watch it. I'm not sure if it's on any kind of streaming platforms or anything like that, but like I said, for $1 it's hard not to just go ahead and grab something. Also on DVD I grabbed Mayhem starring Samara Weaving and Glenn from The Walking Dead. This is a horror comedy about a virus that spreads through an office and they basically go nuts. It reminds me a lot of The Belko Experiment, which is a film that I think is overall pretty fun. This is a film that I know has a Blu-ray copy of, but this was $2 at Big Lots. I figured for $2 it might be worth grabbing to try out. The reviews are pretty decent, but after watching the trailer, I'm not really like super stoked to watch it. It looks pretty bland. If this was a film that was full price, I don't think I would have grabbed it based off the trailer, but for $2 I figured I'd give it a watch. It's not something I'm gonna put in anytime like super soon, but it'll definitely go in the box and we'll eventually watch it at some point. Alright, jumping into the Blu-rays, I got Jack the Ripper from 1959 from Severin Films in this little like sleeve case. This was part of a special during their Black Friday order where if you ordered over so much amount, they sent you a copy of this. Me and a buddy went in together on an order. He ended up getting 2 copies of this through an eBay purchase as well. He ended up giving me this copy, so I appreciate that, my dude. It's a film that honestly looks pretty fun. After watching the trailer, it could be a pretty fun time. I don't know too much about it, and I really wasn't expecting to get it, so once again I want to say thank you. I have more Severin stuff to talk later. Their Black Friday special was pretty sweet. It's a very small company, so it took a long time to finally get them in. That's why this wasn't included in the overall collection video, but I'm very happy to have them in, and I think Severin does a really awesome job, so I'm really excited to check out Jack the Ripper from 1959. Up next, I picked up Howard Lovecraft and the Undersea Kingdom from the Dollar Tree during their movie sale. I had no idea what this was. I saw the names Christopher Plummer, Ron Perlman, and Mark Hamill across the top of it. The fact it's based off of Lovecraft's lore and things like that seemed really interesting to me, and I decided for $1, I might as well get it. Unbeknownst to me, this is a sequel or the middle part of a trilogy of Howard Lovecraft movies. So before I watch this, I definitely feel like I need to grab the first one and maybe give them both a double feature kind of night. After watching the trailer to get footage for this video, it looks like really bad animation. So I'm actually kind of more excited to see it because I love really badly animated movies for some reason. They're almost like in the same level as like something like Troll 2 or Birdemic or something. But this film actually has a pretty high rating on IMDb, a 7.6 out of 10 with over 1,000 scores. Seems pretty good, and it has a pretty decent cast. The whole universe it's working in could make for a really fun time. So maybe with bad animation set aside, this movie would be really fun and enjoyable. I don't know. I'm going to get the first one first at some point in time. Yeah, for $1, I'll pretty much almost grab anything. Also from the Dollar Tree, I found Inherent Vice, which is kind of funny because the last time Dollar Tree had their movie sale, they had Inherent Vice on DVD that I ended up grabbing. And this time around, they had the Blu-ray DVD combo pack. This is a film from Paul Thomas Anderson that I really love. I definitely think it's one of his more underrated works. I've not seen everything by PTA, but what I have seen, Inherent Vice, is honestly probably in my top 3 so far of his movies I've seen. I really like this film. I think Joaquin Phoenix gives a great performance. Star-studded cast. I mean, the cast is awesome. And it kind of lives in this world of like Coen Brothers style movies. They balance this like comedic tone throughout the whole movie while also showing some really like dark underbelly. And it's done really well. The cinematography is great. I mean, there's just so much to really appreciate about this movie. I haven't seen it since theaters, so I definitely want to check it out again. I've had the DVD for a few months now, so finally getting it on Blu-ray is pretty cool, especially because I only spent $1 on it. So for $2, I have 2 copies of this on DVD and 1 copy on Blu-ray, so that's pretty awesome. Thank Thank you, Dollar Tree. Picked up Ninja Assassin at the Dollar Tree as well for their $1 movies, and this is a movie I've always had fond memories of. I haven't seen it since 2009 back in theaters, so I'll definitely have to recheck this out at some point in time. It's a movie that I've always thought was super fun, really violent, over the top, and just kind of one of those just really fun popcorn party movies, I guess, just because of how over the top it is. I'm very curious to see if it holds up, because in 2009 versus 2020, I've had a lot of different opinions. And what is it with Dollar Tree having all these 2009 movies? I found Bruno there, I found Dragon Ball Evolution there, and now Ninja Assassin. And Ninja Assassin's a movie I've had on my like wish list of like movies for a really long time, but I've just never cared to get it. And for $1, I was like, I have to buy it now because it's $1. So thank you, Dollar Tree, for supplying me with some really, really weird movies that I would completely forget about if it wasn't for you existing. But yeah, I'm excited to watch Ninja Assassin again at some point. I don't know when I'll watch it, but yeah, I picked up Ninja Assassin. I finally own that in the collection. Last thing I grabbed at the Dollar Tree is Night Moves with Jesse Eisenberg and Dakota Fanning. And this is a film that I've always kind of wanted to watch and just never have. It's a film that I've heard some pretty mixed things about, but ever since I watched the first trailer for it, I was like, that looks like something I might enjoy. And honestly, I kind of forgot about it until I found it at Dollar Tree. It seems like a cool film overall. It's kind of Jesse Eisenberg off the heels of Social Network, which I think was his, like, it was that time frame where he did a bunch of really good stuff like Social Network, The Double, and stuff. He's been kind of hit or miss for me here recently, so I'm definitely curious to try out Night Moves. It's gonna go in the bucket. It's not like one I'm like gnawing at the bit to put in and sit down and watch, so it'll go in the bucket, eventually be drawn out, and we'll watch it at some point. But for $1, this was probably one of the cooler finds underneath Inherent Vice. I lied to you. The Water Diviner is the last thing from the Dollar Tree that I've got this month. This is a movie that I really know nothing about other than Russell Crowe's in it. Apparently he directed it, because I'm looking at the IMDb page now. Had some decent reviews. Yeah, I don't really know what else more to say about this. It looked kind of interesting, and I figured for $1, I would give it just to give it a shot. It's going to go in the bucket. It's not something that I'm like super wanting to watch right away. So if we draw out of the bucket later, cool. The only thing I picked up on Criterion this month was The Virgin Spring, directed by Ingmar Bergman. I know I'm pronouncing his name wrong. He's a director that my buddy has for years now tried to get me to watch, and I need to. I've not seen any of his films. I own this now and Wild Strawberries, both on Criterion, so I need to actually sit down and watch them at some point. The reason why I got this one is because I found it pretty cheap on an eBay bid. I paid $13 for it. I won the bid, free shipping, and that's the whole story to why I ended up choosing The Virgin Spring this month. I just found it for a good deal, and sometimes you just can't pass on a good deal like that. I did grab some newer releases this month, and one of those is Manos. This is a film that I've been very excited for ever since I watched the trailer of it back in like September of 2019. It's a film that is just stunningly beautifully shot. The cinematography is great. The soundtrack's really good, and overall, all the performances are really solid too. It's probably going to be on my best of 2019 list. It was really good. It reminds me a lot of something like Lord of the Flies. It's very kind of unsettling for a lot of the movie because of the environment the film is located in, and overall it was just really good. I really enjoyed it. It's really well shot, and I definitely think it's totally worth checking out and picking up. Next up is The Invisible Man. This is a movie I found at Big Lots for $5. When Universal put out all these monster movies with this black and red slipcase that has this style artwork on it, which I know this one isn't, I got all of them except for The Invisible Man and Phantom of the Opera. I couldn't find either one of those in any local stores, and I waited too long, and now they're hard to find with a slipcase. And because I own the other ones with a slipcase, I wanted to get these ones with a slipcase. I found The Invisible Man for $5 in this like glow-in-the-dark edition, which I don't know if they did the other movies in this edition as well, but it is technically the same art style, and if you take the case out of the insert, it is the same set that those other films are. So I figured for $5 I would go ahead and grab it. Maybe one day I'll find the same slipcase that the other movies are like, and maybe one day I'll find Phantom of the Opera. But I figured for $5 I'd go ahead and grab it. I've never seen The Invisible Man. It's something that's been on my watch list for a while, so I'm pretty excited to grab it. Probably go in the bucket. It's a pretty cool find for only $5, so I grabbed Little Miss Sunshine from Best Buy for $5.99. This is a film that normally wouldn't be something I'd be all that interested in. However, it is on my bucket list. One year for Christmas, I got this big poster that has these little scratch off boxes in it that as you watch them, you're supposed to scratch them off. But Little Miss Sunshine was on that list, and I figured for $5.99 I would just go ahead and get it. And I watched it, and it was pretty good. It's a film, like I said, that normally would fit in that genre where I'm not really that interested in it, but the characters are really well written. They're all performances are really great. Steve Carell and Paul Dano especially really stand out in this film. If I'm pronouncing Paul Dano's name wrong, I don't know how he pronounces his last name, if it's like Dono or Don or whatever. They both give really good performances in this film, and I was relatively impressed and surprised. However, I don't think it's a movie I would ever care to watch again, or at least watch anytime soon. Maybe like in like 10 years down the road, I wouldn't mind popping it on, but it's not a film that I'm like super in love with. I think it's really well made, and I would recommend it to people, especially people who like this kind of genre. It's a pretty well made film overall with great characters and great performances, and I finally scratched that off the bucket list. Another new release I picked up is Primal, starring Nick Cage, and it was might be the worst film I picked up this set. Nick Cage, in this point in his career, is someone I still love. I love Nick Cage. He's probably one of my, if not my favorite actor. I will watch pretty much all the schlock he's in, because with Nick Cage, you're always going to get something out of the film, even if it's a really bad film. It could be a crazy performance, or it could be a relatively good performance and a bad film. This is one that's kind of nothing. It's not really a bad film by any means. There's not a lot going on in this film. For a movie that on the cover has all this jungle theme, it's pretty much on a boat 98% of the movie. But Nick Cage gives some really funny lines. He gives some funny moments, but majority of the film is just kind of bland and forgetful. It's a film that I never really felt all that bored watching, but I don't remember hardly anything about it, and I didn't really have like a blast watching it either. So it's kind of one of those movies that's just kind of forgetful. It's nothing really that great, and out of the Nick Cage performances, there's definitely a lot better ones. If you want a bad movie with great moments of Nick Cage, watch Between Worlds. If you want a good movie with Nick Cage, watch Joe or Mandy. There's nothing about Primal that would really make me recommend it. I got the Target exclusive edition of Joker, probably the most controversial movie of 2019. I loved it. I thought it was really good. The artwork, I think, from pretty much every edition sucks besides the Target exclusive, which is why that's what I went for. I'm thankful for my buddy for picking this one up for me, because I wasn't able to make it up on Target that week, and he grabbed a copy for me because apparently they went pretty quick from my understanding. But the movie overall, Joaquin Phoenix is amazing in it. It's a really cool movie that had a studio kind of let them have this level of free will. Isn't really afraid to pull very many punches. It has some really gritty and great moments in it. I know there's a lot of controversy behind this film. There's a lot of mixed opinions on this film, but me personally, as a fan of Batman and that universe and the Joker, this was a really, really great movie that really felt fresh. Even though I know a lot of people compare it to a lot of Scorsese films, I still feel like this was kind of a fresh take when it comes to the whole superhero genre and things like that. It's just a really dark character study that I really enjoyed, and it's led by a great performance by Joaquin Phoenix. Speaking of Nick Cage, I got the Werner Herzog movie Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans. This is a movie I've never seen. I don't really know a whole lot about, but it's Werner Herzog, if I can pronounce his name right, with Nick Cage. And Herzog is a director that I've really admire, but I've not seen a lot of his films. I've seen a small handful. I've listened and read a lot of interviews with the guy and a lot of his beliefs and practice in making films. He's a very interesting and inspiring figure, and so I've always wanted to check out more of his films, and this is one I've always been interested in because it's supposed to be one of the better Nick Cage performances, but it's Nick Cage. Found this at Big Lots for $3, and I know this movie has never been like super expensive. It's always kind of been the bargain bin movie, but I figured for $3 I'd just go ahead and grab it. It's gonna go in the bucket. I said it. It's not gonna be a movie I'm gonna watch tonight or this weekend or something like that. I'll wait and draw it out of the bucket and then watch it, but I am interested in seeing it. It's got a pretty good cast. Nick Cage looks like he's gonna be pretty good in it, and it's Werner Herzog, so I'm always curious to see more films of his. I think this might be the last movie I grabbed from Big Lots, from that trip I went, and that is Panic in the Streets from 1950. This is a film that I found for $2.88, I believe, on Blu-ray, so it looked interesting. Ilya Kazan, if I'm pronouncing the name incorrectly, I apologize, but that's a name I kind of recognize, and Paul Douglas, so I was like, for $2.88, why not? I'll give it a watch. I haven't watched it yet, but it's got a 7.3 out of 10 with like over 6,500 votes, so that's pretty cool. So we'll see. It's a film that's going in the bucket. It's not a film that like I'm like to repeat myself 100 times knowing at the bit to see, but it does look pretty good. So I'm interested in seeing how this one turns out. So I'll watch it at some point. For $288, yeah, you might as well get it. Another new release I got is Abominable. This is a film that I really enjoyed in theaters, but it's not really something I would get right away. It's definitely something that's more of a Black Friday pickup. I ended up grabbing it because it dropped to $14.99 and the slipcase is pretty gorgeous. The film also comes with 2 original bonus short films, so I want to check those out at some point. And I just thought for $14.99, hell, I'll just go ahead and grab it. It's a film I really enjoyed. It's got beautiful animation. It's got a really heartwarming story with some funny slapstick moments. Main character Yi, if I'm pronouncing that right, is really well developed. There's a lot of great character moments, and it's just kind of one of those films that's just kind of a good feel-good cutesy movie. And sometimes when you watch a bunch of movies that's just blood and gore and nasty stuff, or just really depressing and nihilistic, it's fun to throw on something colorful and light-warming, and that's kind of where Abominable fits in. It's just kind of overall a pretty decent film with good animation, and I like it. I picked up the new Robert Eggers film, The Lighthouse. This is a film that I felt relatively disappointed in when I saw it in theaters, but I wanted to grab it on Blu-ray because I think with my expectations kind of adjusted that maybe I'll enjoy the film a lot more on a second watch. It's a film that I completely appreciate on the technical aspect. Cinematography was probably the best of 2019. Robert Pattinson, William Dafoe both give amazing performances, and the soundtrack is really haunting and just really well done. The film, the attention to detail is just awesome, but when it comes to the story aspect, I just felt really uninvested in this film. And so I'm hoping maybe on a second viewing, I'll like it a little more, which I made a whole video on why I think you should watch films a second time. And I definitely want to give The Lighthouse another shot with a different mindset of expectations. And yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say about this one, but I picked it up and I'll watch it at some point. We're getting in this update with the Severin stuff I bought, first being Bag Boy Lover Boy. This is a film that has kind of piqued my interest ever since I saw it at a record store in Gatlinburg, Tennessee called the Rhythm Section while I was on vacation. If you're ever there, check that place out. They have an awesome section of CDs, vinyl, and they have a really, really, really good section of horror films. They have pretty much anything you can think of. On DVDs, they have a small but decent section on Blu-ray, and they carry quite a bit of Arrow and Scream Factory, Severin. They carry a lot of really cool stuff, so if you're ever there, go in and check them out. I decided not to get this one while I was down there. They only had it on DVD, so I'm glad I ended up grabbing it on Blu-ray during the Severin Black Friday sale. It's a film that looks completely crazy and looks really fun. It could border the line of being kind of like try hard maybe, but I'm hoping it doesn't. I'm hoping it's just a really fun kind of gross movie, for lack of better terms. So we'll see. This is one that probably won't go in the bucket. I'll probably watch it here soon. It's something I'm pretty interested in checking out. So here's to hoping that Bag Boy Lover Boy kind of lives up to the expectation of just kind of being a down and dirty fun movie. Continuing on with Severin, I got Sangre, the film by Alejandro Jodorowsky, a director that I really admire, that I've not really seen any of his films, but I did watch Sangre, if I can pronounce it right, and it's pretty great. It's incredibly visually interesting. Not even so much on like a cinematography standpoint, but just on a production standpoint. The production design on a lot of his films, from what I can tell, is pretty lavish, and this film is no different when it comes down to costumes and just design overall. It's really, really visually interesting. Soundtrack is pretty cool, performances are pretty good, and the story is basically about this guy who grows up in the circus, escapes from a mental institution, starts seeing his armless mother, who was like a head of a cult, and she basically tells him to go kill a bunch of women, and that's the whole movie. And it's very crazy and very out there, and you can interpret this film in many ways. It's just, Jodorowsky is a very surrealist filmmaker, and I know The Holy Mountain is really well regarded in some of his other films that I'm very interested in checking out, but I really enjoyed Sangre, and I would highly recommend this one. Severin does an awesome job with their restorations, so give Severin some support, my dudes. I ended up getting the Blooddrinkers in a weird way. My buddy ordered this when we ordered the Severin stuff together. He realized that this film also came with a bundle package. So he asked me if I'd want to buy this copy off of him, and I did, and I'm glad I did because it's a pretty interesting vampire movie. It's the first color horror picture produced in the Philippines, and that's actually what the plot synopsis is on IMDb. But the thing that's really cool about this movie is how they use color in the film. They actually have purpose for certain colors. Like there's reds when, you know, the vampire is kind of controlling people and stuff like that. They use this really blue cast during night scenes and stuff like that. So it wasn't so much a film that was just shot in color, but it was a film that could be shot in color and then utilize that idea to kind of make the film a little more visually interesting, and honestly a little more interesting than what it is. It's a pretty standard Dracula-esque type vampire movie. It doesn't really do anything like all that crazy or original outside of the color and visual aspects, but that's kind of like where this film stands apart from those, I guess, is on a visual level. The film itself is alright. It's nothing, like I said, like super special, but I definitely think this film is worth checking out overall. And last but not least of this update is Saint Bernard, probably the strangest movie I've ever seen in my life. This is a film that I'm planning on making a whole Slash Attack video on. It is incredibly surreal, strange, and honestly probably the most uncompromising and just bizarre film I've ever seen before. After watching behind the scenes of this film too, I really appreciated this film even more because of what they kind of got away with in this film. Overall, I definitely think this is a film you should really check out. I'm planning on making a bigger video on this film, so hopefully you guys will check that out in the future. I'm working on it. It's going to take me a while because I need to watch this film a few more times, because if you watch this the first time, you'll have no idea what the fuck is going on. And I think it's a film that you're going to have to watch a couple times, read some articles and stuff like that to try to figure out what this film's about and how it's put together. And I think once you do that, you'll really appreciate this film. The artwork's awesome. Severin did a sweet job with this. Like I said, Severin is pretty cool. I definitely want to order some more of their stuff. But yeah, that's the collection update. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you again in March for the February update, which I'm assuming isn't going to be a whole lot, because this month was just finding some really cool stuff for really, really cheap.